Phone has noise cancel. Is it quiet or something?
Or shopping at the caravan market. I'll have one of the ladies in waiting see to
Sad. Gain is at max. Okay, everything's maxed. I hope you can hear me. Give everyone just a second. Sorry, Mark, it's so late. What time is it for you? The Europeans in the chat. PM. Is that like, that's like perfect dinner time, right? Like, 7 p.m. Yeah, dinner time. You make dinner at 7 and then you eat it at 8. Oh wow, there's a lot of people in that time zone. How was it 7 p.m.? Are you like in the ocean? Portugal. Oh. I was just in Portugal. Wow, like a month or two ago. I was in Porto and then Lisbon. Lisbon's a very nice city. I would spend some time in Lisbon. Porto's nice too. Good food. But would you recommend living there long term in Portugal? Yes. Okay. All right. It's very San Francisco, I think. It's very similar. Oh. Go on, Andrew. For exams, they're finished, right? You're all done with that? Passed whatever they made you do.
Yes, I am, but the next semester will be in 3 days.
Oh no. You gotta get your pull requests in before then.
Well, actually, I need to finish my NixOS setup first, and I still haven't done that. But I have around 5 days at least before the homework start to appear. So I think I'm good because I'm almost done practically. I just need to port some configs and add a few apps. But other than that, it's all good already.
Nice. What's on the agenda for next semester? What classes?
Well, I actually cannot tell just because the names of the courses of the classes are just so weird. But I can assure you that it will be practical. It will be boring, like anything else. Because also a lot of them we just don't have to go because like some professors just give us some homework remotely, and like one of them just tell us do the assignment and then record yourself reading the report, which is insane. And then share the link to the video. Then he will look at how I read my report and then say, yeah, accept it. But at least it's remotely, and we don't have to answer any questions. Like,
has ChatGPT changed how people approach school these days? I feel like
yes,
it's
entirely. Just basically, whenever I ask someone, hey, how did you do this task or this or that task? Like everyone say, I just prompted ChatGPT and that's it. Like, do some color grading or some any programming, or just write me some pages of some text of some nonsense, and it gives them, and then they just pasted it in and that's it. And so like I guess everyone at least everyone is happy. I don't know, but I do most of my work still. Like if I need to do some program, I will try to use Rust, I will try to use Dioxus, if I can. And of course, I will use types to write all my documents. And yeah, but if I need to just, as the assignment tells us, you need to write like 15 pages of something in your language. I just don't have the capacity or capability to create such amount of text. So I just try to use the LLMs as much as possible for these kind of tasks, and it works out for now. So it's all good. Yeah, it's
Evan, would you
very.
say the same? Well,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of ChatGPT, it really depends on the professor. Like half of my professors allow it and they don't like have restrictions around it, and then half don't allow it at all. So I don't really use it because I don't want to end up using it with the wrong class. And there's also professors. I had a professor last semester where they cited ChatGPT every single slideshow. I feel like it's even worse.
Well, yeah, I've heard that some professors mandate that you need to cite every prompt that you have inputted and what will be the output, something like that. Yeah. But in our university, at least, well, most of them just don't care or just don't even mention such things. But some of them like even imply that you probably should just quickly do this and use that, and you will be done. So this is a little bit funny that someone like endorse or in some sense this kind of usage. Yeah.
All right, I don't want to take up too much of our meeting. I'm so curious about how ChatGPT is ruining education or making it better. But we'll go ahead with our normally scheduled content. If you guys are new to Office Hours, but most people here seem they've been here before. We try to do this once a month, where take an hour, you sit with the core team. It's like open conversation, so feel free to chit chat whenever. We typically do like we look at the roadmap, we show some demos, talk about what our plans are for like the next release or the next features or bugs, or like if you guys are running into something and you want it prioritized or want to talk about it. It's what we kind of use the first half for, and then like the later half is a little bit more general. If you have problems that you're running into with your apps or things you think need to be prioritized, or you want to build something or you want to learn how to contribute, that's what the later half is. So we have some cool demos for you in the first half. I believe we have 3 demos. I don't know. We also have a lot more like docs and stuff that Evan has been like working on night and day. So we can show those off as well. It's not much of a demo, but it's also just interesting stuff. So without further ado, we have 3 demos for today. The first one will be bundle splitting. The second one will be the playground that we're adding to the website, and then the third one will be the Dioxus native integration. So I put our roadmap somewhere. Let me go find it real quick.
Hey, bro. Can you hear me, bro?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you one question. It's related to Tailwind, right? So, little bit like it's like behaving weirdly. Like it's not compiling properly. Basically, like it's working, but it's not giving the expected result. It's like Flex is working, but the background colors are not working. Something like this is happening.
Interesting. So we're gonna do the demos first, but then immediately when we're done with the demos, we can do a little bit more like office hour type stuff. Does that work?
Yeah, works for me. Like
Okay.
I'll just share my screen at the time. You can see.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Right. So we put out the 0.7 roadmap. I think a month ago. Last month. I think one of the things that I guess maybe we didn't put out here. So we really the biggest things we want to get out in this release is the native Dioxus renderer. Nico's been working on this for like about a year now. It was like a random. It was like an idea a year ago, and now it's like it passes like 50-60% of the CSS tests, HTML CSS tests. So that we'll give a little demo of that. We also want to ship a component library or do something with component library. I think this is something people come to us and want a lot, and the community options aren't particularly polished, or like we could offer something, or we could work with the community to build that out. So that we also want to ship that this release. But then the other stuff is we want to do Rust hot reloading, so binary patching, which we have a prototype for, and that is up publicly, the prototype, but we want to integrate that with the rest of Dioxus. We want to do bundle splitting. So right now, if you build a WebAssembly application, like a front-end app, you have one big Wasm file, even though you might have many routes for your app. The first demo is going to be, we can now take your one Wasm file and like split it up among all of the different chunks. So the router integration is not done yet, but the technology there is done. And then what else we have going on? And we have a playground, which Miles has been working on. So on the website, you'll be able to like run and edit Dioxus code. So you don't have to download Dioxus to get a feel for it. And then a lot of just quality of life improvements around the board. So docs, bug fixes, and stuff like that. So I'll hope my bundle my bundle splitting stuff still works. Let me share my screen. To share window. This window. Hopefully you guys can see it. I'll make it really big. You see my VS Code instance?
Yeah, we can see.
Is it too big, too small?
The aspect ratio is wrong. It's like a square right now. But
Oh. Better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, all right. Cool. Okay, so this is like less of a feature. It's less like something you would use every day, but it is important for those apps, or at least like more enterprise type consumers, or like the people who are building really large apps with Dioxus would need to be able to split their apps apart into different chunks. So let's go to Playwright. Make sure I'm in the right branch. All right. Bundle split. Where is it? We have an integration ready. Oh yeah, Wasm split harness. Yeah, so in your apps, you would have like a normal Dioxus app. So some like, let me make it less noisy. You have some normal state here. You have your like headers, buttons, and stuff like that. And then these functions, so add body text, add body element, gzip it, broadly it. These are functions that may or may not be heavy in relation to your app. They might like have a huge like binary weight. So when you go to download your app, it would take longer to download. Or an app that would only have been 1 megabyte is now 2 megabytes. So these functions, if we go to add body text, with the new bundle splitting, you can annotate them with this Wasm split macro. The module name is optional, but if you supply a module name, you can guarantee that the module that this function ends up in will be different than a differently named module. So Wasm split 1 ends up in a different like .wasm file than Wasm split 2, which ends up in a different Wasm file than Wasm split 3 and Wasm split 4. So we would get 4 modules out of this. And then if we look at the code for these, like this one is editing the document using WebSys, and so is this one. This one is a little bit different, that it's actually like calling some Dioxus code, whereas this one isn't. And then the Brotli and gzip examples are, they have to bring in this like async compression library. And for most code on our website, we don't need the async compression library. We only need async compression when we want to run like gzip and Brotli. So the idea behind the Wasm bundle splitting is we can take our main Wasm module and then break it up into chunks that we've like delimited here. And then we're guaranteed that this like Brotli function will end up in a different Wasm module than the main module. So it cuts down on your binary sizes. I think the doc side is like 6 megabytes of Wasm right now, and it wasn't that until we like merged every single historical piece of docs under under one like main project, and then we went from like maybe there's like 20 pages on the website to like 400 or something like that. And you don't need all 400 of those pages downloaded when you go to the website. But until today, there hasn't been a solution at all in Rust and WebAssembly to do this. But now, in theory, this should work. So cd packages, playwright tests, cd wasm split harness dx2. Yeah, and then let me make sure. It's a little finicky at the moment. It relies on various different pieces. One of them is you need to have a release profile that kind of looks like this. We need to have LTO on cogen, a single cogen unit, Z level, but what we really need is like debug info, at least to make that into the final binary. So I believe, or we'll give it a second to churn. DX2 is my my local iteration of Dioxus, so this will take actually a second to build. It's gonna take a while to build. I guess I should have like started this to run. So we might be able to release this in patch release, like 0.63 patch release. Cool, it just worked. Great. Yeah, we might be able to release this in a patch release because it doesn't really change any APIs. It's just like a new optional API. A router integration would maybe require a patch, like a breaking version upgrade, or maybe you enable some feature in your top level Dioxus. And it looks like, oh, sick. Yeah. So we have our different chunks. So we have starting asset copy. And if we look in our target folder, target, EX, release, public, assets, you can see we have a bunch of different chunks. So we actually have the 4 modules that we were promised, module 0, 1, 2, and 3. So gzip, add body text, Brotli, add body element. And then we have, if you think like some functions here, like add body, or sorry, Brotli and gzip actually share some functions. So they don't share every function. So for example, like the gzip chunk has like a decoding dictionary in it, but like the Brotli one doesn't. They're different types of decoders. But different types of functions will end up in gzip than Brotli, but they still do share a number of functions. That's what these chunks are. These chunks are like chunks of shared functions between the modules. That way you're not downloading all of the WebAssembly all at once. And then in theory, because we did dxserve, I should just be able to simple browser. Yeah, cool. So here's our module. And then I don't know if this, let me make sure. Oh, yeah, I forgot. This doesn't do anything, but this does stuff. I think it's commented out right now. These don't do anything visibly, but in like the console, I can't open the console, but you'll have to trust me with that. Yeah, so we can add body elements, and then this is like a lazily loaded chunk. So this came in split out from the main module. These also do things, but you have to open the console, and I don't know how to do that in VS Code built-in browser. Anyway, yes, that exists. So you have like the normal state, and then we have the other elements that do stuff. So this hopefully is coming out soon. This is one of the things on our roadmap. This is like almost a requirement to get binary patching working. So having this infrastructure to do module splitting is like step 1 to being able to hot reload WebAssembly without doing a full rebuild. So it's quite complicated, all the stuff that goes into it, but it's a demo that I think we are on track for shipping our like binary patching coming up in the next release as well. So that's one of the 2 demos I have for today. I think, yeah, they do get downloaded once you click it. I wish I could show the network tab. I can't show the network tab in VS Code. Anyway. They get downloaded on the fly. So because they're like async functions, awaiting them causes the download to be initiated. Oh yeah, how's the hot talk tutorial? Oh, I was sick when I recorded it, and the quality is bad. Now that I'm less sick, I have to re-record it. Okay, all right. any questions, we'll answer them. Otherwise, I think Miles also has his demo that he wants to show off as well. All right, Miles, you're up.
All right. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see.
All right. So this is the Dioxus playground. For the unfamiliar, it's a code editor that we're going to put on the website, and you will be able to write Dioxus components and render them without any Rust toolchain installed. It's similar to the Rust playground in that you can write code, run it, but it has all the Dioxus specific stuff. So you can render your components. It has hot reloading and a bunch of different cool features. So when you load in, you'll be greeted with a tab on the left, which is a list of examples. You'll have your code editor, and then on the very right is your output. And you will be able to, once you first load in, you'll be able to automatically use hot reloading, so you can change the text and see it update in real time. And for non-hot reloadable changes, you can click the rebuild button and it will rebuild your app. It has some stuff like paste as RSX. So if you have a HTML string, you can paste it as RSX. It will try to automatically convert that to HTML. The examples are already pre-built, so they will automatically show up. You don't have to click build, and they have hot reloading, so you can change them and see them update. And last thing is we are wanting to have share functionality. I don't think it's hooked up right now, but we want to have it so you can get a code that you put into the playground and it will automatically grab whatever code is associated with it, and you will be able to share your projects and, for example, like providing code to a user who needs help, stuff like that. And that's about it.
I really want to. Whenever people have bugs or they have issues they want, I really want to be able to just like point them to the playground and get like a perma-share link. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really helpful.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Miles. Day of demos. We've got one more demo, and then we'll have Evan talk about the docs and stuff that he's been working on. We have a PR up for the playground. Well, actually, the playground's technically merged into the website. You could actually go to dioxuslabs.com/playground. It's just having some issues with the server build at the moment. It's technical difficulties. But there's a PR up for the bundle splitting, and now there's also a PR up for integrating Blitz, which is our HTML and CSS render we've been working on for a while, with Dioxus itself. So I'll share my screen. You're gonna see too much of my screen. It's the challenge. My monitor is like ginormous, so. Okay, you can see my screen, but it's probably not helpful to you at all because the text is so small. So let me make everything ginormous. Okay, Hopefully you can see it. Can't
Yeah, that's
see
pretty
you
good.
anymore.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
You just need massive margins on your screen.
Okay, so Dioxus native is here mostly. I think there's still some bugs and stuff in it, so we'll need the I guess 2 months before release. We're aiming for an end of March release to get this out. People long time have always asked us if we render natively, and that is kind of a loaded question. You know, like if you think about it, a web view is basically native rendering because web views are implemented with like HTML and CSS and then like native widgets, you know? So like are web views native? Apparently they're not like native enough for some people. But there's utility to having like a quote unquote native renderer that isn't a web view. One, being able to like arbitrarily write into any texture on the screen. Like web views don't let you do that. They're a little too complicated, like design wise, to expose that kind of functionality. Whereas, you know, if you render into a WGPU texture, you can kind of put anything you want. So like WGPU, I don't know if you guys are familiar. WGPU. It's like this new, I want to say new, but it's been around for a moment. It's an implementation of web GPU, which is like the new next generation WebGL, if you guys are familiar, but it's implemented natively. So it's like the same APIs that you would use on the web, but you can actually run it natively. And supposedly it's so good that people have been building a ton of stuff with it. So they have a lot of good examples on the website. I've played with Vlorin before. GLX is really cool. There's a bunch of fun demos on the website. But for example, like Bevy is built around WGPU. eGUI has like rendering for WGPU. So it has been sort of like the Rust standard, like a canvas almost, for anyone that wants native rendered apps. A challenge here is like, just because you're pushing pixels to the screen on your own doesn't necessarily mean anything that the app feels like it's native. Like it might not be implemented with native widgets for example. So a big challenge of building a native render is building something that is fast and performant, is Rusty. It uses Rust libraries. It can integrate with the Rust ecosystem and also feels native. So like on your phone, pressing buttons or changing themes or fonts, they look like they would in the rest of the system. So that's what this project has been all about, is like, can we take basically the language of the web, HTML and CSS, and can we render apps with that? And then can we integrate native system widgets into that so at least it feels native? And that's what this is. So there's a PR open for this. It's not merged yet. The blocking thing right now is the libraries that Blitz is built on need to be released. GitHub, Blitz. So this is the project that underpins Dioxus Native. I encourage you to check it out. I'll paste it in the chat. To upgrade to native, we might be able to knock this out in a patch release. We still probably want to mess with the APIs on these things. You just literally switch to native. So like before you would have Dioxus/desktop, which uses the WebView renderer. We might change what this means. Like desktop as a feature is more useful for some things than being like WebView versus native. But right now, to opt into native on your apps, you would just add the native feature. So by default, we're serving desktop, and the desktop feature turns on Dioxus native. So a little roundabout. But this is the same code that we would have run before, right? This is like basically the same welcome to Dioxus app. But in this new world, Dioxus serve, it should render the app using Blitz. So it launches, it's compiling. I've built this before, so it goes fast. And then here's the app, if you can see it. It's a little small, so I'll make it bigger. Yeah, so this is, it looks like what the web view, so if you've like created a new app with GX new before, this looks familiar to you, hopefully. It's the exact same HTML and CSS, different header, just rendering a ping instead of a SVG. We can render SVGs, but the color selector is a little wonky at the moment. And then we even have like text input. So I gotta, hello. Hold on, let me try it again. I don't know. It's definitely in beta at the moment. There you go. Hello. I think when you zoom out, the text selection location changes. Hello world. Cool. So we have native input, and then you can like bounce around the words, just like you would with like the normal macOS binding. So this is like alting between the lines, and then I think we can like alt. Oh yeah, we can select words, and then you can paste. Well, though you don't have a paste. Anyway, things are coming along. So this is, at least the rendering is there. And I think we have a little bit of time before we can polish up all like the input handling and stuff like that. There's hover events. There's I think there's like drag events and stuff. So yeah, this is a year's worth of work. It's very challenging to render the web, and that's what we're doing now. And it's not in release mode, so I can't show you how fast it is, but is it? Yeah, no. Let's see. I think there's a release build of this. No, it takes a second. Unfortunately, when you render native, there's a lot more dependencies, but I believe Nico has spent a long time making the dependencies compile quick. So this is pretty fast. And this is like a release mode build, so I think it's like 30 seconds. Good job with you guys. There are plans to enable the Dioxus server function inside of a WASI engine. Yes, we really we also want this. I think we might want to try this for the playground, so that you can build like server functions and they run as like Wasm in the browser. Yeah, so this is a thing we want for this release as well. Yeah, Blitz would work for mobile as well. Though we have an issue where we don't code sign properly for iOS devices at the moment, and then Blitz only works on iOS device because the simulators don't like it. It works in the Java simulator, but not the iOS simulator. So it will work for mobile. Oh, and then is it done? No. Okay. Take a second. I think Zoom is broken with event position. But Nico's not here. He spent a long time on this. He's like straddled the world between Dioxus and Servo. So the interesting thing here is like the CSS engine and underpinning Blitz is actually the Firefox CSS engine. And it also happens to be the Servo one as well. So if you guys want to contribute, this is a awesome place to contribute.
Is there a list of the supported events for Blitz?
Not that I'm aware of. I think that's like on Nico's list. I think that's one of the things he wants to do before release. There is in the code. It's basically where all the to-dos are pointed out.
Just use events until you run into a panic.
Okay, it has been 150 seconds and style is taking forever to compile. Something to work on, I guess. Release mode only took a long time. I don't know how to show off its performance other than you can resize it real quick. I don't even think they're scrolling in my little demo. Oh, it does have hot reloading. Hold on. How do I pin it? I don't even know if it's pinnable. Yeah, it has hot reloading. Oh, not in release mode. That is true. That it does not have it in release mode. It hasn't debugged.
We should try to get
More
the
things.
JS framework benchmark running in Blitz. How fast it is.
Yeah, that way we know how much overhead the browser actually puts on us. We should go maintain the JS framework benchmark. I feel like every version we get slower and slower and we do nothing. So
Yeah, I have a pull request that updates it, but it's still slow. There's something about our select column that's re-rendering too much. So that hook might be so. There's a niche hook we used, use comparator for the JS framework benchmark. A really fast way to check if two things are equal.
And it doesn't have that anymore.
We still have it, but for some reason it's slow. I haven't really looked at the benchmark trace very much. I just updated it. Let's see, try to see if it fixed it. No, it didn't magically get fixed.
Oh. You have docs that you want to show off, Evan? I spent yesterday literally merging everything we had. even like translation guides for old versions. I was like, all right, well, we'll have them.
Sure.
Yes, if someone could, oh my god, if someone could add an RSX front end to like 2 week, oh my god, you know how annoying to build the one we have is. Like, no offense to the Ratatouille folks, I love Ratatouille, but oh my god, I just want to hot reload my Tui's into place. Anyway, sorry, Evan, go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so there's a bunch of new documentation and then a bunch of bugs that got merged. So like an updated project structure guide, which would be a good place to start if you want to contribute to Dioxus. It goes over like every single crate and folder we have in the main repo, and like what they are, how they interact. This graph is a little bit too small, but it has like all the different dependencies of how everything interacts. We also have all of the fields in Dioxus.toml are now documented, including the bundle fields, which have been undocumented for a couple releases now. If you need to change something specific about the bundle, like what WebView install mode you need, then those are documented here and you can modify them. There's also a new guide on static site generation. So there's like a very specific setup you need to use for static site generation, which basically just uses full stack with the CLI pre-rendering all the pages. So this goes over how to set that up and then what it looks like once you publish it. Hydration is also documented. So hydration is the process that full stack uses to render on the server and then transition that to the client. For that to work, it needs to render exactly the same thing on the server and the client. And this guide talks about like how that works and then what kind of issues you could run into if you're seeing a hydration error and how to fix them. And then finally, there's a new core concepts guide on asynchronous tasks in suspense. So it goes over like spawning an asynchronous task or creating a derived asynchronous state with user resource, and then how you can like bubble up those suspense values while it's loading with some like interactive guides to show what parts rerun and what different versions of the suspense looks like. So here, if I reload, then it shows loading because it's at a suspense boundary and then shows all the results. And then I think there's been like 25 bug fixes. We've been trying to add regression tests as well since like the last month. So we're getting more stable. And there's still quite a couple that we're working through for I think one more patch release for 0.6 and moving on to some new features.
Yeah, we got down to 250 issues and then it has bounced back up to 272 issues. And I feel like we're never leaving 270 issues. Oh my god. Awesome. Wow. The docs look very nice rendered, I will say, with the fancy diagrams. I think supposedly the playground is also working for you, Andrew. Did you say?
Yeah, it seems to be working for now.
Yes. What I have discovered is like when the server reboots, like it's on fly, right? So like it flushes.
Yeah.
Like if no one's touching it for a while, it dumps it. Like literally doing the build, like the first build takes forever, and then all builds are fast because it's cached. But we need to cache the target directory. It's so cool.
Yeah, I've wondered how Fly would react to compiling Rust. And we do need to cache that target directory.
Yeah, I had to crank up the number of CPUs last night because I was like, oh my gosh, this will take forever. Oh, okay, 0.6.3 needs that PR merged. Okay, all right, I'll go take a look. We'll try to get that out today. I think tomorrow. I think there's a number of bugs, but a number of bug fixes. So I gotta go validate all the bug fixes and then merge and then release. So we'll see if we can get 6.3 out. How easy would it be to extend the router? I don't know, Evan. You know,
There's an issue open. There's a view transition API that browsers support. Blitz won't support that, but we don't integrate with anything for router transitions right now. So what you can do is you have a layout that shows the children or an animation, and once the bug that Mark linked that fix is merged, then that layout should persist even when you switch between routes underneath it.
That'd be sick. Can have all the cool demos that everybody has. All right, that's it for demos. I guess now you guys want to get help, or you want to learn how to contribute, or just general Q&A, or I don't know, anything. We got like 20 minutes. I love seeing everybody typing in the chat.
Yeah, that example Mark linked is perfect. It uses the outlet approach and layout approach.
Wait, how does that work?
You put a layout like at the top of your router, and then all of the children are underneath that layout. When you switch between the children, the layout shouldn't get rerun or like recreated. So you can use the
So you can
layout to animate things.
You can like persist the nodes.
Yeah,
Oh,
once the bug
what?
fix is merged.
Oh, that's the bug. Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. All right, I will dig into that. I was like, this is an insane fix, but I guess I was like, you would have to be. I was like, you'd have to be really hitting some insane edge case of the templates for that to. But I get it now. Okay. All right. All right. Oh, it's so cool. Wait, how did I not see this from you, Mark? This is sick. I want to work with the folks in this chat that are very good at animated things. We need to redo our landing page slash just like marketing materials a little bit, like graphics. And one, making them beautiful, I think, is a requirement, and two, making them animated. Now that I think people would be drawn in by how how animated some of this stuff is. So Dioxus motion, and then like the router, the view transitions. I think people will be wowed by how animated everything is. Do people like the router, or like what are the thoughts of like, so I think we have the most unique router. It's strongly typed, which is awesome. Like you don't have to actually think about like your route paths and stuff. Any thoughts on how we do routing in Dioxus? Bad, good, medium, normal, powerful, not powerful? Mostly good.
I found that a lot of people seem to try to pass props through the router, like complex data, which I don't think is supported.
I've seen like through the router enum, and I think we should just support that. We used to support it, and it got dropped because it was behind a feature flag and it wasn't really tested very well. but we could support it pretty easily with Serde. If we just serialize those props, then you could have like data that is in the router enum that doesn't show up in the URL. And you can use that to pass between different routes. But it wouldn't work for the outlet. There you'd need to use the context or have some different API.
I think we should write like a docs thing on that. Yeah, because like routers and props and state and all this is more of like, how do you architect an app? Like your router, your URL would be the key basically to some state that you've stored, and like those props is actually needs to end up in context or local storage or something like that. I know routers can like store JSON on them, but if you go visit a URL without that JSON on the route, like on the URL, then like you won't get the data.
Yeah, any of the stuff that is not in the URL would need to be optional, some sort of default.
Actually, I can mention one issue I had with the router. I don't remember if I resolved it or not, but there are basically a few places where a user would like to change the page to another page, like when you click on a URL and you go to the other page, but problematically with Rust. And I don't remember in which exact place in the Dioxus code base I wanted this thing to be possible, but it was one of the issues I had, like to be able to go to whatever page I can with the router that I have in my application. Yeah, but other than that, I didn't really have any issues with the router.
It's good feedback.
So
Well,
maybe this
yeah,
this could be documented. Yeah.
yeah. I run into more of the edge cases and understand. It's good to get feedback though. I like hearing everybody's experience with the different components.
Like some pages have the props, and how can you call some page, change to some page with props or without props? How can you pass them, and etc.
Any progress on making LLMs work with Dioxus better? We're trying to get the scraping of the site. So we've put no index on a bunch of the pages on the docs. But I feel like we kind of have to like fix it where people are, so to speak. So the context file, we haven't generated or haven't built a context file yet, but I think we've been trying to fix like the scraping end of things. But it is more and more likely that either we put a ton of information in our doc, like in the code itself. So like a new version that has like way more documentation in the code base, such that like the co-pilots and stuff, when they traverse your code base, they like traverse into your functions and then they can read it and that gives them context, or literally just building a context.txt. It's on our like to-do list for the next release. So addressing that in some way, in like a good way. Yeah. Server-driven UI. I think that might also be part of this release, kind of ish. We want WebSockets on, where we want server functions to be able to send down like a response that has a WebSocket in it. And in that case, you would be able to interact. I don't know, Evan, you have the design of this in your head, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's like 3 different levels. Right now we support one-way streaming. Kind of, there's a couple bugs that need to be fixed. But you can either return a stream or receive a stream in a server function. So you can return like a bunch of data and then use that data to render something on a client. Or you can stream a bunch of data to the server and process it. But we don't support two-way streaming. That would allow you to do more server-driven UI. So you send up events to the server and you send back some response with what you want the UI to look like. So that's something we'd like to support in the next release. Then later on, the even more integrated version of this is you can send signals directly to the server and return signals directly from the server. And that would let you do like anonymous WebSockets. So you could have a function accept a signal and you wouldn't know that it's a WebSocket, but the WebSocket kind of happens behind the scenes. And at that point, it's more of a replacement for what LiveView is today.
Yes, I really want live
Hey, bro,
component.
please help me, bro. It's like too late for me right now.
Yeah, do you want to get some help on whatever your project is?
Yeah, actually, I like basically like I mostly use Next.js. Now recently started the Rust part, so just like I'm much curious about this Dioxus, so I just started on it today only, and having this issue, which is like acting weirdly. Let me share my screen. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So see this, bro. This is working, but this is not working. Little bit weird actually.
Like what part of it? Like the flex is not working or the background
The
color?
text is working, but the background is not working. The text is not working, and I guess it's because something is not coming here. I don't see the background and text properties here actually. I'm not sure why it's
You
not
on the
coming.
you're on the old Tailwind or the new Tailwind?
I guess it's the new one. I guess I just use the default
where's your
configs of
site?
Dioxus. I didn't like configure anything specifically.
Can we see your site real quick? You're running.
Yeah. Give me a sec. Yeah, that's this one.
Yeah, check the element tree. I mean, sometimes like I don't know, there's not enough element behind the div, like the main div or whatever needs to be colored. Can you do the element tree?
Let's see. Like there's nothing extra. It's this.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, your Tailwind config might need to be matching the regex. Do you
Yeah, it's
go to your
fine only.
Tailwind?
We say this is fine only. This is at the source
There's
everything.
like an experimental regex that you have to do these days.
Which one?
Uh, my class doesn't get included in the coaches. Yeah, I don't know. How are you including the CSS file? Maybe. Oh, uh, yeah, what I would do is like look at the HTML tree itself and make sure that the classes are getting applied on the element. There's just like a chance that you don't see the background color because it's being overridden by something else.
What could be the reason like why it is overwritten? I'm not getting that point. It's pretty much
No,
slow.
like a different CSS file. Yeah, go to the running app, like the one in the browser. EG Red 500. Yeah, seems right.
Okay.
And then select it with the element. And click the div above it. Yeah. When I see like the computed properties, like the styles and the inspect element, the bottom of it.
Yeah. Flex is there, but there's no board is fine.
Here it is from Bunny.
Nope.
Computed is the next step.
We should see BG Red show up as a class, right?
Yeah.
In this list. Yeah, look for it. I don't know. Scroll down for it.
It's not there, I don't think so.
There is a filter that should work if you search for it.
Even with background, should be a background, but we have this. That's for the body. Nothing for the div, I guess.
Class is not in the generated file. That's probably.
This is little bit
I think
weird.
there's some config right for the experimental TSS or CSS selector.
I think the regex is just for the editor. It's just the content that needs to be present in the config. It needs to be told to include Rust files. Yeah, but that's already there. There are some classes that don't work well with our optimizer, I think, because Tailwind uses a bug in CSS renderers. There's like a dash web view or something that gets optimized away for like in our optimizer.
Hmm.
Strange. What's in the?
It should just be for older versions of browsers, like really old versions of Safari.
That should work. I'm not sure. I tried a lot of stuff with this one, but still not getting results.
We delete your tailwind.css file, like the one that is being generated, and then just let it be rebuilt. Yeah.
I know
I don't
there's
know
a
how
solution,
you're.
but the solution is a little bit weird. I don't think so. That's an optimal one. It's like
Actually,
just go to the Tailwind and just copy paste everything here. That's the solution.
delete. What's your input.css look like?
Uh,
The one that you're running Tailwind against. Yeah. Okay, that's normal. Oh, this is Tailwind v3.
yep.
Don't know why. Oh wait.
Can you try
Hotbox
once
slash
like
assets.
maybe can you try one like on your local maybe?
I mean, the doc site. I just moved us to v4 on the doc site, but the doc site uses Tailwind and it hot reloads and stuff for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just moved us to v4, so I can't. All right. Well, our time's coming up. I will help you in the help chat after this, real quick, in
Yeah,
case this takes
sounds good.
longer. I
Like
don't know
let
why
me
that
know
would.
just like if you find the solution for this one.
I mean, the problem is like the Tailwind that's being generated is not including
Yep.
the
That complete the
CSS
like
file.
basically whatever like we are writing here, yeah. It's not including that actually.
Yeah.
It should include this stuff here, but not including, not sure why.
What's the Tailwind command that you're running?
You mean the command that I'm running?
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing, just copy paste it from the docs, bro.
Assets slash Tailwind.css. I don't know. Something named properly. Input.css. Can tell you. I don't know why the Tailwind isn't like writing the right class. Maybe delete your Tailwind.css file real quick, like the generated one in the assets folder. Like delete that entirely. Let it regenerate.
Let's see.
Yeah, and then look in it and make sure you get the BG red. Yeah,
No.
just control F for it. I don't know. Oh, because you're running Tailwind v4. Yeah, Tailwind v4 doesn't use tailwind.config.js. So yeah, Tailwind updated. So this, yeah, you're the wrong Tailwind
Version
CLI.
Tailwind?
So yeah, here, if you're running v4, you can just use the docsite as our.
I see.
I mean, Tailwind v4 literally just came out like like this week.
Like the 3.0 will
You
like
have
this
to,
will
yeah.
this should work, right?
Yeah, you can use the old Tailwind.
Try this also.
Or you can just change, if you want to keep your stuff the same, you can use our tailwind.css from the doc site. Here, I just pasted it in the link. So in your input.css, change it to be our tailwind.css.
Okay, this one.
I updated this to v4 because I couldn't fix a bug in v3, and I was like, all right, screw it, we're going to v4.
No worries, bro. It's fine. Like as initial stage, like it looks like complete like Next.js only, so it's fine. Like initially. Yeah, I just saw like you're also like going to like come up with the deployment services, right?
That's the goal. Yeah.
See, like this seems to be a nice stuff, right? Like it can be a next Vercel for Rust, I will say.
Yep. Yeah, that's where we're trying to go. I think we've got 1 or 2 more versions before we release deploy stuff.
Yeah, let's see.
All right. Yeah.
Maybe I'll try
Try
the yeah,
using the right version of Tailwind.
no worries. Thanks. Let me see this.
Anybody got anything else before we wrap everything up? V4 survivors
I
group.
have a small question, just because
Sure.
I didn't really get it. The Evan said that we have a lot more documentation right now, and it's really nice. But I wanted to ask, like, if everything is documented, or just a lot more than before. Like, is there some to do stuff for the docs?
Everything is documented to some extent, and it was before this as well. The docs.rs
Uh-huh.
has like deny non-documented, so everything should have like at least 1 or 2 lines about it. Not everything is in the guide, and not everything probably
Mhm.
will be in the guide. It's just too much information to require you to read before you start building out. There are a few things in full stack that need to be expanded on that haven't been finished yet. So like error handling is one of the things that's more general, and how that interacts with suspense boundaries isn't documented very well. Usually you shouldn't need to
Mhm.
know about that, but there are some cases where you will. And then some of these settings for full stack and like how you set it up in a workspace is also not documented outside of the template.
Mhm. Okay. I
If you
just
see
wanted
specific
to have
areas,
a friendly reminder that documentation is super important, especially for Dioxus, who is like as basically a startup, and a lot of people that come in don't know what happened before, and so they are fresh new. And for such people, it is very important to have documentation, because even I struggle sometimes with some things, but I did use Dioxus before, but it's still not enough. So yeah, I think documentation is really important, and maybe we can push the docs a little bit more than adding a bunch of new features on every release, so that the documentation will stay up to date more. Yeah, but I
Yeah,
will
to
yes,
try
this
to read the new docs
this release is definitely
and
more
see how it
focused on like
goes.
documentation and stability than some of our previous
That's
releases.
great. That's great.
It was also a good thing to mention, like,
Yeah.
if you are new and learning Dioxys, it'd be a really good idea to open an issue if you see things that are missing in the documentation. We try to keep track of like what needs to be documented in the issues
Mhm.
there. So I have like an issue open for documenting error boundaries better. But if you have specific things you find confusing in the documentation or
Okay.
you think isn't covered well, an issue or discussion in the doc site would be great.
yeah, that's a nice idea actually
Yeah,
because
that's great.
Tailwind 3 is working, bro. This is working.
Oh, good. Yeah, we solved it. Big group
Yeah,
effort.
uh, we just need like it should be like in the documentation that will say, you know.
Yeah, Tailwind's literally, yeah, V4 literally came out like on Monday this week, so we can go update the docs.
No worries, bro.
The beta has been out for a moment though. I like the new Tailwind. I don't know. All right.
Said then. Thank you.
To your point, Andrew, about like features and releases, I think we're kind of trying to hit the end of features. There's a couple of big things left, like this native stuff, and then our hot reload, like the kind of like end game of hot reload. And I think after that, it's like kind of just want to spend the
Uh-huh.
rest of 2025 like on core docs, just polishing it up. We'd love to 1.0 a number of
Okay.
things that we think are 1.0able, but Yeah, we just hit 100,000 lines of Rust code. Well, what is it, like 85,000 lines of code and 100,000 with docs, and it's like I don't think there's any more we could really want to add in the core project anymore.
Yeah, that's good. I actually didn't know like that you said it right now that you are hitting the limit of what you can add. I thought like it will be endless. Like you will add new features every release, and I thought like stop. It's time to stop and add and think about documentation. But yeah, I guess we are in the end game, then we can add a few more features and then polish the docs as much as we can, and maybe
Yeah,
then
I
we
have
can
a.
go to the 1.0.
I'll share my screen on my little. I believe this is public, this board, but it is sort of what I use as my like day in day out. Share screen. Oh, no, I want to share a window. We'll showcase. We published the roadmaps. I think now I can't share a damn thing. No, Discord's broken. I'll send a little thing in the chat. There's this is like the last big release, I think, that I want, like that feels big. I mean, we'll fix this like live view situation at some point. Keep saying we're gonna get rid of it, and then it's like to get rid of it and like retain any of the functionality is more work than just like maintaining live view. But what I think we want to like merge live view in, that would be kind of a project at some point. CLI like extensions also need to come in at some point. um, I don't know, videos and tutorials and guides and stuff like that is pressing stuff after this release.
Actually, I have one question. I don't remember if there is an issue for this, but I asked about extensions for the what is it? What does the desktop use? Tauri. For the Tauri extensions doesn't work right now with Dioxus. When can this be added so that so that we can use them? Because I have at least one extension that I found that fixes the problem that on desktop, at least on Linux, the app doesn't know which schema the operating system uses, like the dark or the light theme. And so this extension fixes it, but I cannot use it because Dioxus like wraps Tauri, and Dioxus doesn't allow the Tauri extensions. I don't know if there is no issue. I probably should add it.
In
Openness.
Dioxus SDK, I believe we have a system theme thing. Though, Miles, I do have to ask, it doesn't compile in Linux. I see no reason as to why I shouldn't compile Linux. It was a pain in the butt during CI. Would have fixed that.
What doesn't work?
System theme, like from Dioxus SDK. It's only implemented on
The detection of the system theme. It works in the web, I think, probably, but on the desktop and the Linux, it doesn't work. And it is a common issue with Tauri, and some extension with Tauri does fix it.
It looks like we only added support for web, so I think we need to go in there at some point and add desktop.
I believe some Terra extensions just work with Dioxus out of the box. They used to, at least. I think maybe after Terra 2.0, they changed some of the format with the plugins. At least the core code of the plugins work on Dioxus. I've used them before for my own stuff, but I don't know after the Terra 2.0 what changed exactly.
This is the Tauri issue, I think, for the not detecting system theme reference on Linux.
All right. Well, yes. After, I mean, what we're trying to like stabilize core Dioxus at some point this year. I think it's not like a confirmed, but it's a goal to work towards. And then after that, filling out the SDK and in plugins like this, building out the ecosystem. And I don't want to add anything more core to Dioxus. I just want to build ecosystem stuff for it. Yeah, Evan, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, lots of SDK stuff. We're not going to get Signals 3.0.
No, I wish. Maybe
Some-
maybe we'll make the Rust compiler faster.
Yeah, I'm sure we could fit that in the Dioxus repo, right? $100,000.
No. All right. I think it's time. Any other questions? Feel free to dump them in the chat. Yes. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. It's a busy full day. Glad to show off everything.
So do I just wait for the theme detection to be added to the Linux, like, or what? Should I open an issue for this?
Yeah, if you want to open an issue on the SDK. Oh, go ahead, Miles. You're maintaining SDK. Yeah.
Yeah, if you could open an issue and we could get to it at some point. I'm not super sure like how we interact with Linux APIs. I haven't really taken a big look at that just yet.
So what about the Tauri extensions? Will Dioxus support them or not in the future?
I
So
thought
that
we
we
just
can
supported them.
extend.
If
Because
they don't work out of the
I
box,
tried
we
to
can,
look up. I just tried to look up how to use them, and I have to add something, and I didn't found anywhere in the Dioxus where I can use. Like I need to use some API, some Tower API, and I don't think Dioxus like exports it or supports it at all. I don't know. I can look up, and then maybe in that issue that I will open, I can add some information about that. Or maybe in the different issue about the extensions. I don't know.
Yeah, you can you feel free to make an issue about the Tauri extensions on the Dioxus repo. If it's not tracked,
Okay,
I guess
great.
we should track it. Yeah. We're never getting back down to 200. God damn. Okay. All right.
Don't
Thank
feel
you,
so
everybody.
sad.
I'm gonna go have lunch. You guys eat your dinners. Or lunches or whatever. All right.
Yeah,
Good
have
night,
a
everyone.
good day. Bye, everyone.
See ya.